Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to our webinar today. My name is Brian, and for those of you who don't know about us, we are a government-owned organization in Singapore that invests in and helps build deep tech startups, talent, and communities. At SGInnovate, our work involves connecting with the global deep tech ecosystem, working with entrepreneurial scientists to bring their innovative research from lab to market, as well as developing deep tech talent. Today's event, Robotics and AI, Cross-Border Opportunities Between Singapore and Denmark, is presented by SGInnovate, Invest in Denmark, EDB, NRF, and the Royal Danish Embassy of Singapore. Today, we have a panel of amazing experts who will introduce the Danish and Singaporean tech ecosystems, share their thoughts on the markets, or share some market perspectives as well as give their insight into some industry trends today. I also like to encourage our audience here today to share their thoughts on this topic and engage with our speakers by using the Q&A box below. And with no further ado, I'll now pass the time over to Hougaard Jensen, Director of Invest in Denmark. Anne, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Brian, and good afternoon to everyone from my side as well. We at Invest in Denmark very much welcome this opportunity to explore further cooperation between Singapore and Denmark in the area of robotics and AI. I will give a short introduction of the organization that I represent and give you a quick overview of what Denmark has to offer in terms of investments, opportunity, framework conditions in general. And I will leave the details on what Denmark has to offer in the area of robotics and AI to the speakers after me in the program. Without any further ado, let me introduce myself again. My name is Hougaard Jensen, and I am the director of the organization called Invest in Denmark. And who are we? We are the National Investment Promotion Agency of Denmark. We are anchored with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Denmark, meaning that we work along our colleagues that deal with export promotion and the colleagues that further innovation cooperation all over the globe. So we benefit from having our embassies and representation and trade councils all over the world that we can use to connect Denmark with other potential investors in Asia, for example. We are an organization of approximately 65 people. Half of those are placed in Denmark, close to the relevant clusters and knowledge institutions, and the other half in the markets where we meet people like you and present the interesting investments opportunity that Denmark has to offer. In short, our success is your success, so we are measured on our ability to attract and create successful investment projects in Denmark. And yearly we create around 60 investment projects in Denmark, creating around 1,500 jobs in Denmark. So what kinds of investments are we interested in Denmark? Of course, we welcome all investments, but mostly we focus on investments that foster innovation. And the topic of today's webinar speaks volumes to that. Of course, digitization, robotics, AI is something that increases productivity and brings innovation to Denmark. Then we focus on investments that can accelerate the green transition. And here we all know that the digital technologies, robotics and AI is also part of the solution to accelerate the green transition. And thirdly, we look for investments that create jobs and attract talent and capital to Denmark. Foreign companies are known to be more productive and they strengthen the Danish industry base and make Danish companies stronger. Denmark has a lot to offer, but we can't do everything. So we focus on 4 overall areas. One is technology, and this is the topic of today's webinar, where you will be able to hear more from speakers about what the Danish ecosystem in robotics and AI has to offer. But the second focus area for us as an investment promotion agency is what we call clean tech or green solutions, green technology. Denmark has an abundance of renewable energy resources and has a stronghold within wind technology, but also other green technologies. So that is part of our focus area. A third focus area is life science and food. Denmark has a very strong life science sector, and the whole value chain within the life science industry is also a stronghold for Denmark. Then our fourth category is more a combination of what makes Denmark a hub, a maritime hub, and a hub of different kinds. So what I wanted to share with you as well is that Denmark is also a country that will allow you to gain a foothold in Europe, reaching a very big number of consumers and businesses located in Europe, also making Denmark an attractive place to invest. And I could go on and on about the reasons why Denmark is an attractive place to establish your business. I've tried to sum it up in 8 reasons why. And the first would be that Denmark and the Danish government has a very high level of ambition in terms of renewable energy and green transition. And you as corporates or students, you have the key with the technologies that you work on to help us deliver on these very high ambitions for the green transition. Denmark also has a very strong cost quality benchmark. You can rely on timelines and quality. We might not be the cheapest place to establish your business, but you can rely on the product that is delivered. If you choose Denmark, you tap into a strong ecosystem with a lot of other foreign companies and Danish companies that will help you grow your company and make it stronger. You also tap into a very resilient economy. The COVID-19 pandemic has been hard on everyone, but we have seen a Danish economy bounce back and with stable growth. So you are also tapping into a very stable investment climate. As a fifth reason, I would mention we have the most flexible labor market laws in Denmark. You can hire and fire very easily, also making it attractive for startup companies because you obviously have to adapt to various risk scenarios. We also, contrary to what you may believe, what you've heard about Denmark, have a very cost-effective environment. Many people see Denmark as a very expensive place to establish a business because of wages. But when we benchmark ourselves against other countries in Europe, we actually can provide a very competitive cost environment because we have free healthcare and a number of other parameters. We have a simple tax structure, a transparent structure with a 22% corporate tax. And last but not least, high livability. Copenhagen was just named the most sustainable and one of the most livable cities in the world. We have a good work-life balance. I will continue on with what I call humble bragging. We might not be the best at everything, but Denmark simply punches above its weight in a lot of areas. For you to look towards Europe to grow your business, you would look at where would you find the most competitive businesses, where would you find the most transparent business environment, where would you find the most resilient business environment, and where would you find the most digitized economy and population. And as you can see, Denmark ranks high in all areas, making it a very attractive place to place your business. I'll go on with maybe not so humble bragging, but we have a list of how Denmark does in a benchmark against other countries. We are continuously named #1 in Europe for ease of doing business. Denmark ranks highest in the European Commission's ranking of digitized countries, the DESI index, and the list goes on and on. So you will see that if you're looking for transparency, resilience, and balance, Denmark is the place to be. So moving on to what we can do to help you at Invest in Denmark. The good news is that we start where you start. We join you in your efforts to grow your business. And the other good news is that our services are free of charge. I'll just repeat that. Our services are free of charge. So all we ask is that you help us should you choose to establish your business in Denmark with an evaluation of the value that our organization created for you in your process. But we help you when you are considering to expand your business in Denmark with benchmark analysis and different information about the Danish strongholds. And if you find that Denmark is an attractive location, but you have certain requirements for infrastructure or talent or different components to make your business successful, we facilitate the contacts that you need. And should you still find Denmark an interesting location, we provide tailor-made fact-finding visits where we introduce you to the relevant ecosystem and stakeholders, so you can see what is it actually like to establish a business in Denmark. And even further along the journey, we can help you with the practicalities of establishing a business in Denmark, navigating the tax system, introducing you to people who can find you the right talent, and so on and so forth. And we don't stop here. We keep contact with investors in Denmark and explore their needs for expansions or other needs. So we do a extensive aftercare service as well. So in short, our success is measured in your success in establishing your business in Denmark. And our services are free of charge. So this concludes the remarks from my side. I just want to wish you a fruitful discussion, and you will hear much more about what Denmark has to offer in robotics and AI. I just want to reiterate that Denmark is open for investments and that Invest in Denmark stands ready to assist you. So please do not hesitate to reach out to our investment manager in Singapore, Sean, or our tech special advisor, Lars, that is located in Denmark. And you will find their contact details on the screen, and they will be happy to assist you with any questions about our services and how we can help you if you are interested in exploring Denmark as an investment location. Thank you for the floor, and I will now give the floor to Professor Tong Boon from the National Robotics Program. And thank you so much for your attention.
Oh, hi. Good afternoon or good morning to my Danish friends there. Can you all hear me?
Yes, Tong Boon, we can hear you loud and clear.
I'm so sorry. I got lots of problem getting in. Even right now, I see some problem. Let's see how it works. I'll try to share screen first. See whether it works. How it works. Let's see. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yes,
You can see my screen. Let me go on the screen mode. Okay. I got lots of other display blocking me. Let me cover them. What goes down? Okay. All right. So welcome to this joint seminar between Singapore and Denmark. I'm very pleased to be able to join you all for this occasion. I'm sorry I missed the front part, so please beg your pardon if I repeat something that I might have been said already. Okay, so as you all know, Singapore and Denmark, we may be 10,000 kilometers apart, but we share a lot of things in common. For a start, both our populations are small. In fact, very similar, 5.8, 5.9 in 2022, and GDP, even the same order, 355 and 340 billion. Okay, so very similar. What is more interesting is when you take a look at some of the attributes of our economy, our resources, and so on. Take a look at this. Both our economies, we are open economies, very export-oriented, very service-oriented, and both our nation have a maritime tradition, a maritime nation surrounded by seas, and each of us, we are respective shipping hubs for our part of the world. Okay, so very similar. Even in terms of natural resources, both of us lack natural resources, but fortunately, we consider ourselves as quite innovation-rich to mitigate our lack of resources. Challenges, we also share very similar challenges: aging population, shrinking workforce. Both of us have ambitious plans to strive for a greener and more sustainable future. And interestingly, both of us also look at technology as a force multiplier to harness it to overcome our challenges, leveraging the technology such as AI, robotics, and so on to overcome this. So given my own background, or rather my current appointment, I'll probably focus on robotics just to give a flavor of what we're doing in Singapore. I think it extends to the other technologies where both of us have common interest also. So in fact, if you look at the use of robotics in both countries, based on the International Federation report given out annually, this is last year's report, you see that Denmark and Singapore, we are actually both among the top 10 nations in terms of the densities of industry robots. Okay, so pretty similar, very high density. In this case, referring to the manufacturing industry, right? So really, we do share a lot of common attributes, a lot of similarities. So in terms of industry robot, even before our national robotics program was created, A-Star was already very much in the game. There still is, and their capabilities today is largely to meet the demands of our industry, especially the manufacturing and logistics space. For example, there are lots of joint laboratories, one of which is between A-Star and Rolls-Royce, for example, where they look at how they can leverage robotics for their production manufacturing plant in Singapore for Rolls-Royce and elsewhere in the world. Likewise with many other companies, either in terms of joint project, joint labs and whatnot. So where we saw the opportunities when we created the National Robotics Laboratory, National Robotics Program was in robotics application in the service industry, which we feel is less mature than in the manufacturing space. And then in terms of supply, in terms of the demand side, in terms of supply side, we see opportunities in both the public and private sector. In the public sector, for example, we see also an increasing demand for professional service robotics to mitigate our labor shortages and aging workforce. So this demand fits nicely into the opportunities that we see coming up in service robotics. So the one of the focus of the National Robotics Program in terms of R&D has been to look at what the use cases based on demands coming to us from the public sector, okay, to guide our investment. And hopefully the capabilities that we build up through these projects will enable the potential applications in both the public and private sector to create socio-economic impact. So my focus today will be in two aspects of NRP. First, or just to give a flavor of the sort of differentiating technology that we are building in order to shape the robotics wave, rather than just being a simple and rather than just being a consumer or end user of robots. We want to see what we could do to harness on ecosystem to make a difference to robotics. Secondly, our effort to shape the robotics ecosystem. So shaping the robotics wave of really, even in service robotics, there are actually lots of areas you can embark on rather than focusing on going straight for fully autonomous robot. We thought there's lots of opportunity for us to work on robots that collaborate with humans, augment human, assist human, rather than replace human to create value for our society. Okay. So the tagline that we put in our logo called Robotics Empowering People captures the essence of this focus of ours. In other words, for robotics that can help people, can empower people. At the ecosystem level, the NRP, we also leverage a lot on R&D performance from our entire public sector, especially our Institute of Higher Learnings and research institutes, as well as our private sector, some companies. So for the public sector, our use cases so far is, we have drawn them mainly from three public sector domains, i.e. healthcare domain, environmental services, and built environment. When I say environmental services, I'm referring to the type of services offered by our National Environmental Agency in terms of the cleaning of public space, waste management, and whatnot, whole spectrum of our services to keep our environment clean. So just let me zoom down one level down to give a flavor of what it means. So healthcare, for example, the vision of our healthcare sector, given the increasing demand for healthcare services because of our demographics, our aging workforce, and so on, yet we have limitation in how the sort of workforce we have in the healthcare, especially in terms of nurses and so on. So what do? Increasing demand for the services, and yet no increase in demand in the workforce. So naturally, we look at robotics and automation as one of the means for us to solve this problem. So their vision is look at how we could transform our hospitals, especially our wards, down to the bed level, within hospital level. How could we leverage on robotics for that? So we have quite a number of projects in this domain, what you call, probably classified broadly under hospital logistics domain, to look at how we could alleviate the workload of our healthcare workers so that they can focus on the more high-end tasks, right? So this gives you a flavor of what we're talking about. The top left is a robot that helps to take the vital sign measures of patients. You'll be surprised the amount of time our nurses spend on something like this. The one in the middle shows one of the earlier versions of one of our robots to help rehab the stroke patients to recover, to give them confidence in balancing. You can see from the other two video clip there, even to play games without having to rely on the physiotherapist. The one on top is without the robot. The one at the bottom is with the robot helping. Sorry, yeah. Let me just get back with it. Ready? All right. And then the one on the extreme right, this is a robot to help us to analyze cytotoxic stools, cancer patients, for example, not only to analyze it, but also to take the stool from where the patient is. So you see the chair there actually is autonomous commode. They can go to where the patient is, so that he and she can do his or her business, then bring it to this room for it to analyze. Okay, and so on. Extreme left is talking about a robot that helps to carry the meal tray, the meals on top, make sure it can be balanced and so on. So just give you a sense of what we're doing in the healthcare sector. In the environment sector, as I mentioned, it's quite a broad sector. It covers cleaning, public space, waste management, inspection, monitoring of our environment. You can see some of the cleaning robots and so on we have there. Up there is one of the robots we have to look at cleaning of the road shoulders. And so it's another one right hand side, cleaning of our pavement. Okay, and so just give some examples of what we are embarking on in this domain. Right. The key for us to develop what is robot is one of the differentiating technology I mentioned just now. This is in the area of how do you make our robots more morphable, more reconfigurable. So we call this reconfigurable robotics. So today we have quite a broad spectrum of technology in this domain, from the low and mid TRL all the way to technology level that are ready to be products, as you can see in the staircase climbing robot up there. In the construction sector, this one sector that's notorious for its low productivity. And today we continue to depend a lot on manual workers, including a lot of foreign workers in Singapore. So the challenge for us is how do we lessen the dependence on manual labor and to look at opportunity for automation. So one of the strategic decisions we took many years back is to look at how we could have more off-site construction. But even after that, after you do the construction off-site, you have to look at what you do to construct real buildings on-site. So again, we've invested in a lot of technology to look at this whole spectrum of trying to make our construction sector less reliant on manpower. Okay, so this is an example. In this case, what they're doing is a crane. Assuming we have some of these boxes, assembly, 3 volumetric structures that come out of our off-site construction, how do we then bring it to the construction site to assemble them? So this project, for example, is showing how do you unman the crane and how do you precisely put the volumetric block into the right place and so on safely. Okay, so various aspects being looked at here. There's another example of 2 other projects. The yellow robot on the left is trying to simulate the carrying of a load, few hundred kilograms, up a staircase. When during construction, you can imagine there'll be a lot of work trying to build. The need for us to bring things to different heights, to staircases, either temporary or otherwise. So really, in order for us to lessen dependence on people carrying things, good to have machines that can help us. They can go up and down ramps and staircases and whatnot. And this one shows the testing of how this type of robot can traverse in the external terrain, in the typical construction terrain, in the gravel terrain. Besides looking at technology at investing in robotics at technology level, we also invest in robots at a system level. So this particular one shows investment in a framework which is called the Robotics Middleware Framework, RMF. So the idea is to have a middleware level that allow us to have robots, heterogeneous robots operate in the environment. So you can see four use cases on the left-hand side. At the top is the use of such robot for the facility management. Below that, use it for surveillance enforcement, and then how to help us in our normal regular office work, and last but not least in the back-end logistics and operations. If you can, you require more than one robot. So how do you have a framework that allows us to use many different robots? In fact, we actually managed to use this quickly in one particular COVID scenario a few months back, where we had a surge in COVID patient. We had to quickly ramp up some of our facilities to accommodate some of the COVID patient and needs to be hospitalized. So I leveraged on this to quickly convert a site, exhibition center, into a site with beds and so on, into a real time into hospital. And then because our healthcare workforce were tied down with a lot of other demands on the services, obviously we also want to look at how we can leverage on robots to help in this ad hoc facility. So this particular one uses the RMF to help us to deploy different types of robots. Let me see whether I can scroll quickly. Okay, so you can see this is a framework, and then it's one robot, and then it shows multiple robots coming together. I think I missed the one where they basically the whole idea is to look at how we could allow different robots to come to manage the flow of the robots. Maybe I missed it. See whether I might be missed it. By the way, this is deployed in a real situation in the COVID, helps in the management of COVID to enable quite a number of robots to be deployed at the same time around here. This disinfection robot. Okay, probably somewhere here. You can see a few robots from different makes coming together. Okay, probably here there's something on multiple robots. So there are certain robots where, or certain objects where they actually higher priority. So the software will let the higher priority robot go through first, and the rest will wait, and so on. Then there'll be certain moving objects that are flagged with inherently higher priority, like wheelchairs and beds and so on. So those are given higher priority when you encounter a robot. So I hope you get the idea of what this one is trying to do. This is an example of actual deployment at actual ward where we allow the next of kin to visit the patient, even though the patient cannot physically meet. At least we have this telepresence robot that allows NOK to actually visit in quotation, of course, the patient. So that makes quite a lot of difference, as opposed to alternative where the patient cannot see the family for the next week or so. Right, so it shows the sort of social impact that the robots we have put in place, robotics we have put in place, are already starting to make impact in real life. And then I just say a few words about the ecosystem before I hand the mic to them. So in terms of ecosystem, the left-hand side shows the R&D performers, some selection R&D performers we leverage on. Mainly these are our research institutes, our universities, our polytechnics, even some of companies we leverage on for R&D. And then the top right, the green one shows some of the sectors where the demand for robotics is coming from. M&L, that's the one that's driving the demand for the higher density of robots that I show you for both Denmark, or at least in the case of Singapore, for Singapore coming from this particular sector, especially the semiconductor industry, right? And then the public sector, the pseudo public sector, healthcare, construction, transport, and so on. These are also people who are demanding a lot of robotics solution. Right-hand side are the people from the government agencies. They actually do the planning, funding, and so on of robots for the public sector. And then the middle is a supply side. These are people who can provide robotic solution. These are mostly Singapore companies, but we do have among them quite a number of European companies. Those that are put in blue color, you can see around 10% of them, they're from Europe, including UR and MIR, both are Danish company. So I hope that in the coming years, we see more of companies from Europe, including those from Denmark, coming to Singapore to help to contribute to our effort to leverage and harness more on robotics, artificial AI to help alleviate some of the challenges. Naturally, we also hope that a lot more of the Singapore companies can also go beyond the shores of Singapore to also look at opportunities outside Singapore. Maybe some of them in partnership with Danish companies to go to the rest of the world. And with some venture companies right inside. So this is our ecosystem we're talking about in Singapore today. We think there's a lot more that can be done to grow this ecosystem, both on the supply side, demand side, in the coming years. So this is the reason why the second thrust of our NRP is to look at how we could shape the robotics ecosystem in Singapore. Okay, our vision eventually is to have a vibrant robotics ecosystem in Singapore that are well connected to maximize the impact, the sort of socio-economic impact that we can create. Our inspiration is, of course, Odense. We have been very successful in creating a very nice ecosystem in your part of the world, despite the fact that you are very small. Odense is, of course, much smaller than Singapore. Nevertheless, you are very successful. So we're hoping to learn from you. Some thoughts on where we could collaborate. I started with this slide just now. So I thought the areas, the three challenges I mentioned, aging population, shrinking workforce, greener, more sustainable green future. These are opportunities for us to really work together to look at opportunity for us to strengthen the Singapore-Denmark partnership. And of course, this is only the challenges in public sector, national, but there are also opportunities for our companies, both the Singapore and Danish company, to get together and work together to leverage on technology such as robotics, automation, and so on. So with those, I look forward to a successful webinar, and let's continue to explore, see how we can work together to overcome our common challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that, Professor Quek. I would like now to pass the time over to Marcelo, who will be our moderator for the panel discussion. Marcelo, take it away, please.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining this panel discussion and this webinar. Right, I'm Marcelo Ang. I'm a professor of the Department of Mechanical Engineering at National University of Singapore, and I'm also the director of our Advanced Robotics Center in our university. So I'm happy to introduce the first speaker. We'll have 4 very quick speakers. The total session will be about 35 minutes, cut short by 5 minutes, so we don't delay so much. There'll be 4 speakers. The first one is Mr. Gert Tol Pedersen. He's a business development director of Odense Robotics. So Gert, please, I pass it to you. Thank you.
Yes, hello. And
yes,
I'm just trying to get it up here. You see my slides?
Yes, we see your slides. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, good. So, my name is Gert Tol Pedersen. I'm a business development director at Odense Robotics, which is Denmark's national cluster for robotics, automation, and drone technology. What is it that a cluster do? Well, we bring the ecosystem together. So we work with approximately 300 members from across Denmark within the industry. We work with universities and knowledge institutions, and we work with various different sectors in the public domain and many different organizations. And just a few highlights. Today, we have approximately a little less than 15,000 people, employees in Denmark and abroad within the sector of the member industries. And we have a total turnover of 2.8 billion euros in last year. And since 2015, a little less than 1,000 million or a little less than 1 billion euros has been invested in robotics companies in Denmark. So it's a very it's a very growing sector, very important for the future. And what is it that we work with? Well, we work with startups, we work with innovation, and we work with the scale-ups especially the part in global growth. And a lot of what we do is really networks. So we try to share best practices so that whoever has found a better way, share the better way with their colleagues from other companies. And I think that is one of the strong points of the startup and the ecosystem in robotics.
Gert, sorry to
of
interrupt.
course, it's about visibility. Sorry, Marcelo?
Sorry to interrupt. Are you sharing your slide? We're just seeing the first slide still. We are not seeing other slides.
I'm sharing, yeah. But if you don't see it, then I have to stop and try again.
Yeah, maybe share the proper screen, maybe. Yeah.
It is a proper screen.
Oh, okay. So, sorry.
Try once again. Let's see if it will share. Does it shift for you now?
Yeah, and now it's slide 2. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and that's what I just meant, that we have the ecosystem together, the industry, the knowledge institutes, the public sector, and the organizations. As I said, altogether a little less than 15,000 employees in Denmark and abroad last year were employed by the robotics companies. We have a turnover of approximately 2.8 billion euros. And since 2015, a little less than 1 billion euros has been invested in the companies. And on our strategic focus areas, then it's all about the startups, of course. That's very important in a very young business. It's about innovation, how to boost our product and technology development by tapping into research and know-how. And then it's about scale up, how to grow globally, optimizing both supply chain and digitalization and service optimization. A lot of what we do is really about the networks, where we keep sharing best practices between colleagues in the ecosystem. And I think that helps a lot in bringing the next companies faster to the next level. And of course, then it's all about also being visible to other areas. So that is what we work with here. And I guess that was my first short presentation, and I'll stop sharing here and you can go to the next one.
Okay, thank you very much, Gert. Now I'll invite the next speaker, Mr. Martin Hougaard. Sorry if I mispronounce your surname. He's the head of Global Supply Chain Technology on Danfoss drives, mainly speed control machinery. Over to you, Martin.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. So, and also thank you for inviting me to this session here. And I'll also just share my screen here. Let me know when you can see it.
Yes, we can see it.
All right, super. So, short introduction about myself. I'm not a part of the cluster. I'm part of the industry, working together with the robotics cluster and actually being the end user. So that is, you can say, my view on this here today. Working for Danfoss, Danfoss Drives, heading the global technology within our company, and trying to, of course, make sure that we are utilizing all this new technology in the way we are manufacturing and building these new smart factories for the future. Just as a brief, Danfoss is a company within the climate and energy sector. We around 40,000 employees in our business and have around 100 factories globally around the world. Nothing in Singapore. We do have a lot of employees there, but they are not manufacturing. They are sitting in sales offices in Singapore. So we have a lot of network there, but not in the manufacturing yet. I was given the question, how do we actually work with innovation processes within our industry, and how do we actually see the innovation approach? And then there was also asked a question about how do we actually do this innovation sprint? And just to elaborate a little bit about that, in industry where we are today, we are having formal processes and how to mature new technologies, how we scout, how we monitor, prioritize, mature, and then at some point implement. But we also see that of course the industry and the technologies are becoming much faster. They are becoming more disruptive. They are faster in scaling, and they have a shorter lifetime. So that is also why we have seen a need for working closer to robotics cluster, for example, here, to bring in these new ideas and new innovation faster and in another way. So that is why we have held some few times some innovation sprints. We have hosted this together with the cluster in Denmark, where we have actually reached out to startups, reached out to new ideas, new technologies by calling for volunteers to join in of innovation sprints. A lot of companies then, you can say, shared their ideas on new technologies on our problems in our industry. And then we did some pitching, and in the end, we also invited all these, not all, but the best ideas and the companies into our premises, and did an innovation sprint for a full 24-hour, where we then matured the ideas, and then at the end, we actually also chose a winner. And then by that, trying to see how a big company can work and be more practical about getting some implementation done in a fast way. So speed up the collaboration between big companies and small companies. And I think that is also what could be interesting, of course, here. We could of course open up these sprints globally and also have companies from Singapore joining in on an event like these. They don't have to be physical. They could also be virtual, and also bringing in new ideas here. So this is a way, at least from the industry, seen by from the industry, how we can actually collaborate more around technology. And this will definitely foster new partnerships across the borders, and also be a talent network opportunity for us to actually bring in talents from Singapore, from Denmark, and vice versa into our industries and solving our technology challenges. Then I was also given the question around the AI and robotics, and how do we see that actually becoming an opportunity for us. And there's no doubt that, from my point of view, robotics is one field, and AI is a completely different one. But of course, when you're marrying these two disciplines, then it's becoming hopefully the perfect way of doing our manufacturing in the future. Because I'm in the manufacturing industry, I'm not in the service industry, so that is where I have my focus. But there's no doubt a robot is stupid. AI is the intelligence, making it human thinking, and combining these two can make us come a long way. So what we are working on in my industry is to see how we can actually utilize AI and robotics within a vision system. How can we actually pick parts in a smarter way? Flexible grabbing objects. We do that. We want to optimize our entire logistic chain. So here we're also finding solutions to see how AI can bring us closer to a flexible solution there. And then especially this ease of scalability. That is a tricky one for us. We have tons of parts, thousands of parts in each factory. And doing a vision system for one part is one thing, but then scale it to thousands of parts, that's a challenge if you do not have AI. And that is where we really see some big potential here to scale our solutions by using AI. Then also, of course, the intelligence of placing parts in the right place, and fault detection is something where we're using. And hopefully this will make us do full automation, because that's a challenge today. The long tail of complexity is difficult for us, but AI can then bring the ambition about having a full automation and be resilient, be able to solve these challenges about our labor constraints that we are seeing, and then still give the market what they need in terms of product customization. So that's my view on the AI and the robotics here, seen from the industry here, and I of course look forward to see how we can collaborate around the innovation here. So that's all for me, and I'll hand it over back to you.
Okay, thank you, Martin. Thank you. So I'm happy to introduce now from Singapore, Mr. Tong Meng Phai, our Director of Ecosystem Development in our National Robotics Program. Meng Phai, please.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Meng Phai from the National Robotics Program Office, NRP. Earlier, Prof. Quek had already shared a little bit about NRP. Right. So I won't spend too much time talking about NRP. I will just...
Meng Phai, excuse me, you're sharing your blank notes, not the screen.
Yes. Okay. Let me expand the screen. Yeah. So early on, as I mentioned, I think Prof Quek had already shared about NRP, so I won't spend time to talk too much about the NRP. I'll just give a quick introduction of myself. So I'm the Director of the Ecosystem Development at NRP. What I do is I work closely with end user companies, technology providers, academic and research institutes to facilitate public-private partnerships, to translate our R&D into markets so that we can create economic and societal impact. And in so doing, we hope to catalyze the robotics ecosystem in Singapore and to grow the robotics industry. Now, before NRP, I was with the EDB, where I was also working very closely with companies from around the world across many industry sectors to help them invest in Singapore, to help them use Singapore as a launchpad into the region, into Asia. Now, if there are two things I want to say that our Danish friends have given
Mangfai,
given
sorry
me a
to
lot of
interrupt
joy.
again. I'm sorry. We see a blank page.
Blank page, okay.
Yeah, are you sharing? And we, yeah. I hope it's not only me, but
Same here.
Yeah.
You don't see any logos on the slide?
No, we just see a blank page.
Blank screen. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
it seems to be a loading problem. Just now I saw
Loading
one.
problem, is it?
There seems to be some spinning blue
Yeah,
page.
it's loading.
Okay,
some,
okay.
some works in
No
progress.
worries, no worries.
Yeah.
No worries. I think the slides are just a visual
Okay,
aid.
okay. We just go
just
with
feel
them.
free to hear me out.
Yes,
So I
we'll,
already talked about a little bit about what I do in NRP. My background in EDB previously. So now I just want to say, I think two things our Danish friends have given me a lot of joy, and that is actually Danish cookies and Lego toys. So thank you very much, Danish friends, for giving that to us. Yeah. Thank you. That's all I have.
Yeah. Thank you, Mangfai. Thank you. So for the last speaker, then we'll have the discussion. I'm happy to introduce Dylan Turnster, from a co-founder of LionsBot, a local startup, right, in Singapore. Dylan?
Thanks, Marcelo. I wonder if everyone can see me now.
Well, we can see you, but not your screen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think
it's
Brian
nice
is
to see you.
to share.
I think Brian is started screen sharing, but it's still trying to do it. Okay,
Perfect.
now it's up.
Perfect. Yeah. Can we start from the top? Thank you. All right. So, we are LionsBot, and we are LionsBot because we are made in Singapore. We produce all of our robots in Singapore, and our robots work in a team. That's why we call it LionsBot. And so we are founded 4 years ago in 2018. Now we have over 200 team members, and our products are in 28 countries. All right. So everything, we've done it in-house, from our circuit board design, firmware writing, to robot navigation code, the cloud, the app, and even the whole cleaning mechanisms, the industrial design, production, everything was done in-house. So it's 100% full range of in-house capabilities. We have now 3 families of cleaning robots, each with multiple models. So our just recently launched was our R3, which is a small, easy to use cleaning robot that everywhere can be, that people can use. And then we have our Rex, which is a much larger one, and the Leobots, which was our very first product that we came out with. Okay, can we go to the next slide, please, Brian? Thank you. All right, so our cleaning robots are a bit different because they work together in a group, and they help to unleash the, they help every single cleaner and every single human to do more with much less effort. So you see in the picture over there, Auntie Lily, she's 76 years old, and she runs 4 robots every day. So the robots are running at different floors. And what she does is focus on customer service, focus on jobs that a cleaner could do, like for example, high touch areas or sanitizing. And then the robots are automated, they're working on their own, and she has reports through her app, and she can command the robots through her app too. So all of this would really make cleaning much easier. And cleaning is a big part of our of the employment in the world. Actually, 1% of the world's working adults are in the cleaning industry. It's an amazing statistic, but you'll find that in many developed countries, less and less people want to be cleaners. That's why with every single cleaner, we can have robots to help them. Okay, so that's all I have, and I look forward to the panel discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mang Fai. I'll spend another 10 minutes, I hope, at most, or at least, if you bear with me. I'll start with some questions to the audience. Please feel free to type in the Q&A session. If we're not able to answer all of them, we will send you by email because everything is recorded. Maybe I'll start with a general question. And I'll ask the Danish friends, either Gert or Martin, to answer. Then the same question, I'll ask the Singapore team to answer, either Manfai or Dylan. And the question is this: among all, let's talk about AI-driven robotics. In this area, AI-driven robotics, what do you think is the most exciting development that will be closer to impacting the quality of our lives, right? That will really affect us. Just maybe if Gert and Martin can spend a minute to answer that, just pick one, one technology in AI-driven robotics.
Okay, I'll make the first shot, then you can go afterwards, Martin.
Okay.
I think actually Denmark used to be a farming country. We still produce a lot of fruits, and we do have a very strong farming industry. And I think that what we see is that robots are really moving into this area and making life a lot easier. And just one very interesting company is called FarmDroid, where it's actually the robot is powered by solar cells running around the field, making sure that it removes the weed amongst the plants, not touching the plants that it has seeded itself. And I think that's a very exciting thing to see how that works. That was just one example. I could come up with a lot more examples.
Thank you. Because certainly sustainable food production is very important to the world. And I think robotics has an important role to play. Martin, comments?
Yeah, and if I try to take the view from my industry, so the manufacturing, what I think we're very good at today is automation and using robotics to assemble. And that's also what we see in the car industry. But what we often do not see behind the curtains in these industries is how to actually handle the parts, the logistic part, because there we have a lot of variances, there we have a lot of unforeseen things. And this is where we also do have a lot of lifting, the economics challenges for our workforce. So I think in that area where our robotics becomes more intelligent and will be able to cope with these variances and these, you can say, packaging challenges and all that around logistic, there I think we could gain a lot in creating a better work environment around that part of the process in our factories, because it's a little bit untouched, and I do not see that many good examples of that yet. And I think AI, they could bring a lot into that, because we need the human interaction, human mind around those things.
Yeah, thank you, Martin.
Allow me to just come with one more comment, Marcelo.
Yeah, please.
Within construction, we actually have a new, well, it's a little more than a startup. It's an early scale-up company called Hougaard International. It's in construction, and they're doing a 3D printing of buildings. And that's very exciting to see, and they're already operating globally now, and I think you'll find them quite next to your own country as well. I think that's something you should look into, how they operate with different AIs techniques to manage this process.
Yeah, correct. And I think Tong Boon talked about construction too as an important pillar. And Martin, you reminded me of I came across the news about the logistics challenge that you ran for, I think, under the Sprint Robotics, if I think that really addresses an important problem in manipulation of picking up different objects and putting them in shelves. So that's we're doing research in that area too. So thank you.
That's good to hear.
Okay, let's look at the Singapore side now. Maybe Mang Fai first.
Yeah, Marcelo, you asked a very big question. There's actually so many things in my mind right now.
That's why I want you to pick only one.
Very difficult, and I know you want me to pick only one. So if I had to say only one thing, I would say that when you combine AI with robotics, right? Actually, the potential positive impact that can have on society and economy is much greater, right, when they are combined together.
Right.
So I think earlier Prof. Quek spoke a lot about the healthcare. So one example I can think of is, in NRP, we do have one project where one of our professors in his research team is actually using the AI data to personalize the rehabilitation, right? So it's not just an exoskeleton, but you use the data, right? Data about the Asian population, and then combined with the AI, actually it can make for much better, I think, outcomes for the rehabilitation. Yeah. So I think that is one example I can think of where AI combined with robotics actually has a greater positive impact, can potentially have a greater positive impact on the society.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you, Mang Fai. That reminds me also of my colleague Dean Ho's work on personalized medicine.
Yep.
and also in manufacturing, mass customization, right? To be very specific. Okay, thank you, Mang Fai, and Dylan.
Yes, so I come from service robots, and I think how AI robotics, that one big thing that would help adoption would, I would say, is cost and ease of deployment. If it's something that's really easy to use, like a rice cooker or a TV where you just turn it on and it works, people will adopt it. But cost is also a big factor. So with these two elements, and we come up with a smaller, easier to use robots, more affordable, it would really impact and make a huge change.
Right. I understand. Yeah, certainly. Robots are so hard to use right now, right? Yeah, that's so good. Okay, so thank you all. We now know the top technology that Singapore and Denmark is interested in. Now, my next question is, given this, what should you take the government sector, public sector, or the companies should do to make this be a reality faster? Because we have seen all the labs have proof of concepts, including my lab. We demonstrate it, and after that, bye-bye. It becomes a museum, right? But it's a waste, right? So since there are people from agencies here, there are people also from industry, maybe what can both? Maybe another minute each one, starting from Denmark first. What do you think the government or the industry can do besides doing what Audience is doing already, the street robotics, any more that we can do to make this really faster to become a reality? So I always say before I retire, I hope to see more of this. Yeah. Okay, maybe to Gert and Martin, anyone first?
Yeah, I can start. There's no doubt that is the challenge. It is bringing things from technology to running operation. There's a gap in between there.
Right.
And I think that's what we try with this innovation sprint, where we are taking a challenge that we need to have solved now. So actually coming with a case where we need to have someone working on it. And normally we go to our big suppliers because that is normally what big companies work with. But doing this innovation sprint here, we were able to actually interconnect with smaller companies, startups, and actually you can say engage on a concrete example of a challenge we need to get done. So we actually try to bridge it much faster, and actually with the result of that sprint, go out and do it and getting into production. So we actually make some real commitments and actually start up some new partnerships, because normally we need to get a new suppliers approved, all the way up through the organization. But this year gave us some opportunities to deal with smaller companies in a more innovative way. So I think that is one thing to bridge this gap here and get more tangible around implementations.
Thank you. Yeah, indeed. Are the universities or research institutes involved in the sprint besides the startups and the MNCs?
They were part of hosting it, you can say, and they also able to actually join in. You can say it's open for everybody. So it could even be you can say a clever guy coming in with an idea. Then of course we need to find a way afterwards how to cooperate. Right. But definitely they are also with us on the side.
Okay, Gert, do you have a comment?
Well, I guess the biggest challenge I see that where government could make a huge difference is that one thing is what we are able to do inside a production plant, which is a controlled environment. Another thing is what you can do within an office building with service robots to a certain extent.
Which is unstructured
but as soon we get into public transportation areas where people move around, there's a huge difficulties in being allowed to use the robots. Autonomous driving is not a possibility yet, and all these things is really what is slowing us down, because as Martin mentioned, everything is operating behind the bars when you test it, but we are not allowed to take it out into real life. So,
yeah, indeed, the challenge is how to bring robotics and automation in factories out to the unstructured human environments. I hesitated to say out into the real world. The factory is also a real world, but it's more chaotic. I remember one of the projects of Others Robotics is multi-robot robot system in chaos, right? In chaotic environments and messy environments. Yeah, so thank you, Gert. Okay, Manfai, your comments, please.
Yes, since NRP is part of government, then I guess I should speak for the government. So when I think about what government can do, I think the words that come to mind is, playing a facilitative role, playing an enabling role, and also playing a catalytic role in the ecosystem. And I think in Singapore, actually, we do have quite a lot of government agencies working collectively together to help, I think, the ecosystem to grow, to help, I think, foster and promote the innovation. Right? So, for example, I think NRP does a lot to look at building public R&D robotics capabilities in our universities and also in our research institutes. We also have partner agencies, and there's quite a number, so I will just maybe give one example. Our friends at the EDB, Economic Development Board, they work to facilitate companies, right? International companies, they're interested in to tap on the capabilities, to use Singapore as a base in this part of the region. They facilitate them to come into our ecosystem and help them grow in our ecosystem. And together, actually, the Singapore government agencies, in that sense, actually play a catalytic, a facilitative, and an enabling role in the ecosystem.
Thank you, Mangfai. Thank you, indeed. Dylan?
Yes. So to bring from the lab into the real world, I can share our example. So what happened was we worked very closely with Professor Mohan, our co-founder, and then we also take creations from the lab to transit to the real world. A few things. One, it's may not just be products developed in the lab, but it could be the people that were trained that goes into the startup. Second is also focusing on commercialization, because commercialization is so important. If there is no push for commercialization, then there is no push to get the product in the real world, to earn money, to pay for the research in that sense. And the last thing was, I think when working with a startup, it would be good to have some deep domain expertise also, so that they know how the industry works and can link up with the correct distribution channels, or to put the product in the correct places. So all this would help to transition from research to real-world deployments.
Thank you, Dylan. Yeah, certainly manpower training is a given already, but more, I think what we need help more is really the commercialization, bringing the gap that Martin also talked about. So thank you all. I want to spend another 5 minutes. We're gonna close soon because we ran out of time, or we exceeded time. But I want to give each of you about a minute each, or 30 seconds each, your final comments before we close, your last words to everybody. Can be anything, any advice, anything that you want to share with everybody. I'll start with Gert first. Gert, please.
Okay, thank you. Well, really, I think the most important advice that I can come with is that if you're looking into investing in Denmark, and just following up on the first speaker, Anne, then I would say we have a very strong, I think it's probably much the same in Singapore. We have a very strong cooperation between universities and the startup companies in Denmark. And I think that's a very strong process that we see that a lot of innovation is actually driven forward very, very rapidly this way. And I think that's one of the very strong points that we have in Denmark. Apart from being in the robotics field, we also have a test center for drones in Odense. Which is also of interest for some of the Singapore companies, I know, because we have some of the same, we do not have quite the same temperature, but we do have a lot of wind, and we do have the sea where it's possible to fly over. So that's some of the things that we do, strong test facilities.
Unfortunately, in Singapore, we don't have wind so much, but wind energy is certainly very interesting. And it's very interesting too that Tong Boon showed some interesting things that I didn't know about the similarity between Denmark and Singapore in terms of GDP, and also I think, well, that's quite interesting. Okay, Martin. Yeah, thank you, Gert. You're muted. Yeah. Okay.
Definitely on the technology, there's a lot to harvest here between our industries. But one thing that could be a cool thing to start on is, of course, people, talent, students, how to actually collaborate there. That is often a good way to bridge knowledge. How can we actually incorporate? We're working a lot with universities in our industry, getting students in, do projects, do PhD projects, but could we even scout that out to be also between Denmark and Singapore to get another knowledge pool in? That could be an easy way to start, and doing more collaboration across borders. So that could definitely be an easy way to get started.
Yeah, thank you, Martin. I'm very excited for opportunities for our students to do internship there. Yeah, so please do contact me in the future. And also your students to come to Singapore too, if you're from your university.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. Meng Fai?
Yeah, I think both Denmark and Singapore already have very well established organizations and institutions, right? Like the EDB, like Invest in Denmark, Robotics, Robotics and NRP that can facilitate cross-border opportunities. I believe having good knowledge, right? Having local partners with very good knowledge of the local networks, right? The local ecosystem is key. I would encourage Singapore-based companies to look for Danish and European partners, and vice versa. The Asia-Pacific edition of Hannover Messe in Singapore, ITAP 2022, is actually around the corner. It's going to happen 18 to 20 October. So this might also actually be a good opportunity for Danish companies to come and visit Singapore. NRP will be having a booth there, so do come and visit us. Yep. Thank you.
And for me, I would think that the growth in robotics now is really very exciting, and it would be great to have a cross-pollination of ideas and people. It could be internships, it could be secondments of people, it could be companies working together, it could be deployments of robots in Denmark and Danish robots in Singapore also, so that we learn and we grow together, because there is no perfect robot, but rather there is the perfect robot for the right situation. And by exposing us to more situations, more usage cases, then we are able to develop a much better and rounded robot in that sense.
Yeah, well said. Thank you, Dylan. I guess, Meng Fai, Dylan, the first step is, like what you said, to get to know each other. And that's what this is about, this webinar. And that's a very good step. And after that, to more discussion on the cross-fertilization that Dylan, through exchanges or something. So we have each other's contact. So I thank all the 4 speakers, Gert, Martin, Meng Fai, and Dylan. It was so nice to meet all of you. And thank you to the audience too. The Q&A, there's not much there, but I hope the audience found it useful too. Now let me close the panel discussion now and pass to Brian for the webinar to do the final remarks. Brian, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Marcelo. I would like to thank all of our speakers here today for their insightful and knowledgeable discussion, as well as for the presentations that they've shared. I think I can speak on behalf of SGInnovate to say that it was a pleasure to have a group of experts like yourself here today to share your insights on such an important topic. So thank you so much to our audience who have submitted questions as well. Do note that we'll be sending out a post-event email with all the important information you may need, including a recording of this webinar. So do keep an eye out for that. And with that, we've come to the end of our session today. Thank you all for spending your Thursday afternoon with us. And on behalf of SGInnovate, I would like to wish you all a great week ahead. And we look forward to seeing you again at our next event. Goodbye, everyone.